The book of Numbers begins with God instructing Moses to take a census of the Israelite men who are able to go to war. Each tribe is counted individually, and the total number of fighting men is recorded as the nation prepares to move forward. The Levites are set apart from the census because they are assigned to care for the tabernacle. They are given specific duties related to its transportation and protection during the Israelites' journey through the wilderness. The arrangement of the camp is described in detail, with each tribe assigned a specific place around the tabernacle. The people are to march and camp in a prescribed order whenever they travel. The duties of the Levites are further outlined, with the families of Kohath, Gershon, and Merari, each responsible for different parts of the tabernacle. These assignments are to be followed exactly as commanded. A second census of the Levites is taken, this time of males aged 30 to 50 who will serve in the tabernacle. Each family's responsibilities are again specified to maintain order and reverence. God gives Moses instructions about removing anyone with leprosy or an unclean condition from the camp. This is done to preserve the holiness and purity of the community. Laws concerning restitution are given. If someone wrongs another, they must confess and make full repayment, plus an additional amount to make things right. The law of the Nazirite is introduced. This is a voluntary vow that includes abstaining from wine, avoiding contact with the dead, and not cutting one's hair during a period of special dedication to God. Instructions are given for how a Nazirite is to complete their vow. At the end of the period, specific offerings are made, and the individual's head is shaved in a ritual ceremony. God tells Moses how Aaron and his sons are to bless the Israelites. The priestly blessing includes requests for God's protection, grace, and peace upon the people. Leaders from each of the 12 tribes bring offerings to dedicate the altar. These offerings are listed in detail and presented over 12 consecutive days. Each leader brings identical gifts, including silver dishes, gold bowls, incense, grain offerings, and animals for sacrifice. The repetition emphasizes the equal contribution of each tribe. After the altar is dedicated, Moses enters the tent of meeting. There he hears the voice of God speaking to him from above the atonement cover of the Ark of the Covenant. Instructions are given for how the Levites are to set up and care for the 7 lamps of the lampstand. The lamps are arranged to give light forward and are kept burning continually. The Levites are dedicated to God through a ceremonial purification and presentation. They are taken in place of the firstborn males of Israel to serve in the tabernacle. God speaks to Moses about the service of the Levites. They are to begin their duties at age 25 and retire from active service at age 50. The second Passover is celebrated 1 year after the Israelites left Egyptian captivity. Instructions are given for those who are unclean or away on a journey, so they may still participate. A cloud covers the tabernacle by day, and a fire appears at night. When the cloud moves, the people follow it, and when it stays in place, they remain camped. Silver trumpets are made to signal the movement of the camp and to summon the leaders in assembly. The trumpets are also blown during times of war and celebration. The Israelites set out from Mount Sinai and follow the Lord's leading into the wilderness. Each tribe travels in the order that was previously commanded. Moses invites his father-in-law Hobab to join them on the journey. He promises that Hobab will share in the blessings that God has for Israel. When the Ark of the Covenant is carried forward, Moses prays for God's guidance and protection. When it rests, he prays for God's return to the people. The people begin to complain about their hardships, and God's anger is kindled. Fire from the Lord consumes the outskirts of the camp until Moses prays and it stops. The people crave meat and complain about the manna. They remember the food they had in Egypt and express dissatisfaction with what God has provided. Moses becomes overwhelmed by the burden of leading the people, tells God that he cannot carry the weight of their complaints, and pleads for help or relief. God instructs Moses to appoint 70 elders to share the leadership responsibilities. The Spirit of God comes upon them, and they begin to prophesy as confirmation. 2 of the elders, Eldad and Medad, prophesy in the camp, even though they were not with the others. Joshua wants to stop them, but Moses defends their actions. God sends a wind that brings quail from the sea, and the people gather large amounts of meat. As they begin to eat, a severe plague breaks out due to their greed. The place is named Kibroth Hattaavah, which means graves of craving. Many die there and are buried because they gave in to their intense desire for meat. Miriam and Aaron speak against Moses because of his Cushite wife and question his unique position. God defends Moses, declaring that he speaks with him face to face. As punishment, Miriam is struck with leprosy and becomes white as snow. Moses prays for her healing, and she is quarantined for 7 days before being restored. 12 spies are sent to explore the land of Canaan. They return after 40 days carrying fruit and a report of both the land's abundance and the strength of its inhabitants. 10 of the spies spread fear, saying the people in the land are giants and too powerful to conquer. Only Joshua and Caleb urge the people to trust God and proceed. The Israelites rebel in fear and cry out to return to Egypt. They threaten to choose a new leader and stone Moses, Aaron, Joshua, and Caleb. God expresses his anger and considers destroying the people entirely. Moses pleads with God to forgive them for the sake of his reputation among the nations. God forgives them but declares that the current generation will not enter the promised land. They will wander in the wilderness for 40 years until all the adults have died. The 10 spies who brought a bad report die from a plague. Joshua and Caleb are the only ones of that generation who are promised entrance into the land. The people try to enter Canaan the next day on their own, but God is not with them. They are defeated by the Amalekites and Canaanites and forced to retreat. Laws are given regarding grain offerings and drink offerings to accompany sacrifices. These are to be followed both by the Israelites and by any foreigners living among them. Instructions are given for unintentional sins committed by individuals or the community. Sacrifice is required and forgiveness is granted through the priest. Deliberate sins committed with a high hand are treated more severely. A man caught gathering wood on the Sabbath is put to death for defying God's command. The people are instructed to wear tassels on their garments with a blue cord. These tassels are to remind them of God's commandments and to help them remain faithful. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram lead a rebellion against Moses and Aaron. They claim that all the people are holy and challenge the leadership structure established by God. Moses responds by allowing God to show who is chosen. The rebels are swallowed by the earth, and fire consumes the 250 men offering incense. The next day the people grumble again, blaming Moses for the deaths. A plague breaks out and Aaron makes atonement with incense, stopping the destruction. To confirm Aaron's role, God commands each tribal leader to bring a staff to the tent of meeting. Aaron's staff buds, blossoms, and produces almonds overnight. The blossoming staff is placed before the ark as a sign to prevent further rebellion. The people express fear, realizing the seriousness of approaching God's presence. God assigns specific duties and privileges to the Levites and priests. They are to bear the responsibility for offenses related to the tabernacle and offer sacrifices on behalf of the people. The Levites receive tithes from the Israelites as their inheritance. In turn, they are to offer a portion of what they receive to the priests as an offering to God. God gives instructions for purification after contact with a dead body. A red cow is sacrificed, and its ashes are used to make water for cleansing rituals. The death of Miriam is recorded as the people arrive at Kadesh. There is no water, and the people quarrel with Moses and Aaron about their situation. Moses and Aaron seek guidance from God about how to provide water. God tells Moses to speak to the rock, but Moses strikes it twice with his staff instead. Because Moses did not obey exactly, God tells him that he and Aaron will not enter the promised land. This event is remembered as a failure to uphold. The people travel from Kadesh and request permission to pass through Edom. The king of Edom refuses and threatens war, forcing them to take another route. Aaron dies on Mount Hor, and the priesthood is passed to his son Eleazar. The people mourn Aaron's death for 30 days. The Canaanite king of Arad attacks the Israelites and takes some prisoners. The Israelites vow to destroy the cities if God delivers them, and God grants them victory. As they continue traveling, the people become impatient and speak against God and Moses. In response, God sends poisonous snakes among them, and many die. The people repent and ask Moses to pray for deliverance. God tells Moses to make a bronze serpent and lift it on a pole, and anyone who looks at it is healed. The Israelites continue their journey and camp at various locations. Songs and historical notes are recorded to mark the events along the way. They send messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, requesting safe passage. Sihon refuses and attacks, but the Israelites defeat him and take his land. Next, they battle Og, king of Bashan. God gives them victory, and they conquer his land and cities, extending Israelite territory. The Israelites camp in the plains of Moab near the Jordan River. Balak, king of Moab, becomes fearful and seeks help to curse them. Balak sends messengers to the prophet Balaam, asking him to curse Israel. God tells Balaam not to go, but after repeated requests, God allows him to go with restrictions. Balaam sets out with Balak's officials. Along the way, his donkey sees an angel blocking the path and refuses to move forward, causing Balaam to strike it. God opens the donkey's mouth, and it speaks to Balaam. Then Balaam's eyes are opened, and he sees the angel and bows in fear. The angel tells Balaam to continue but warns him to say only what God commands. Balaam agrees and continues to meet Balak. Balak takes Balaam to various high places to observe the Israelites. Balaam builds altars and offers sacrifices, but each time he blesses Israel instead of cursing them. Balak becomes angry, but Balaam insists he can only speak what God reveals. He delivers several blessings and prophecies, including a future king who will rise from Israel. Balaam's final prophecy foretells the downfall of Moab and other nations. He then returns home, and Balak also departs in frustration. The Israelites begin to engage in immoral behavior with Moabite women and join in worshiping their god Baal. God's anger burns against them, and a plague breaks out. Phinehas, the grandson of Aaron, sees an Israelite man with a Midianite woman and kills them both with a spear. This act stops the plague, which had already killed 24,000 people. God makes a covenant of peace with Phinehas and his descendants. He honors Phinehas for his zeal in defending God's holiness and removing sin from among the people. God tells Moses to treat the Midianites as enemies because they led Israel into sin. Plans are made for judgment against them in the future. A new census is taken of all the Israelite men of fighting age. This replaces the earlier generation who died during the 40 years of wandering. The total number of men counted is slightly less than the previous census. Only Joshua and Caleb remain from the original group who left Egypt. Land inheritance is discussed and allocated according to the number in each tribe. Special care is taken to ensure fairness and future division of territory. The daughters of Zelophehad had come to Moses to request land inheritance, as their father died without sons. God approves their request, setting a new legal precedent. God instructs Moses to appoint Joshua as his successor. Joshua is commissioned publicly before the people and given authority to lead. Instructions are given about daily offerings, Sabbath offerings, and special festival offerings. Each is detailed to guide the priests and ensure continual worship. Festivals such as Passover, the Feast of Weeks, the Feast of Trumpets, and the Day of Atonement are described. Each occasion involves specific sacrifices and rituals. The Feast of Tabernacles is also explained, lasting 7 days and ending with a sacred assembly. These festivals are times of remembrance and celebration for the people. God reminds the Israelites to keep their vows. A man must keep all vows he makes, and a father or husband has authority over the vows of daughters or wives. God commands Moses to take vengeance on the Midianites. Israel sends 12,000 warriors and defeats the Midianite kings and armies. Balaam is found among the dead, having been killed during the battle. The women and children are taken captive, and the spoils of war are brought back. Moses is angry that the women were spared, as they were the ones who led Israel into sin. He orders that all male children and non-virgin women be killed. The plunder is divided between the warriors and the rest of the Israelites. A portion is given to the Levites and to God as a tribute. The tribes of Reuben and Gad request to settle on the eastern side of the Jordan River. They explain that the land is good for their livestock and families. Moses initially objects, fearing they will discourage the rest of Israel. The leaders promise to help fight for the land west of the Jordan before returning to their homes. Moses agrees and outlines their responsibilities. The land is granted to Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh as their inheritance. A record of the Israelites' journey is given. Each campsite is listed as a reminder of God's guidance from Egypt. To the plains of Moab, God commands the Israelites to drive out all the inhabitants of the promised land. They are to destroy idols and sacred places and take possession of the land fully. Boundaries for the land of Canaan are described. These borders will mark the inheritance of the Israelites when they cross the Jordan. Leaders from each tribe are appointed to oversee the division of land. Eleazar the priest and Joshua are named as the main administrators of the inheritance. Special cities are set apart for the Levites, since they do not receive a tribal inheritance. 48 towns are assigned to them, including 6 cities of refuge. The cities of refuge are places where someone who has killed another accidentally can flee for protection. They must remain there until the high priest dies. The law makes a clear distinction between murder and manslaughter. Witnesses are required to establish guilt, and no ransom is accepted for a murderer. The book concludes with a clarification about the inheritance of the daughters of Zelophehad. They are instructed to marry within their tribe to preserve the land allotment. The daughters obey and marry their cousins, keeping their father's inheritance within the tribe of Manasseh. This ensures tribal boundaries remain intact. The book of Numbers ends with the Israelites camped on the edge of the Promised Land. They are now prepared to enter. Under the leadership of Joshua, after years of wandering and preparation. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button to support the channel. Have a blessed everything.